today we celebrate the memorial of Saint Cyprian and Saint Cornelius. If you have time, I do invite you to go and read their background because it is a very interesting insight as to the situation of the church at that time and what these two important persons of the church did to defend the faith. Now, just to give you a very brief background. Now, this is during the 3rd century. Both this character, they were present during the 3rd century, and at that time, the church was faced with a lot of violent persecution by an emperor called Emperor Decius. Now, at that time, many Christians, because of the difficult situation, they started to lapse. They moved away from the church and denied God. And also, sometimes they start to pray to pagan gods. But later on, this persecution started to relax, and some of these people wanted to come back to the church. And with that, there was a very fierce debate. Can these people who were lapsed from the church be readmitted and to be in union with the church again? Because of this reality, there was a very rigid schismatic group that came to be. So there was this group who called themselves the Novatians. They are very strong in following the church, and they were very faithful during the church. But at this period of time, they would say that, all those people who were lapsed during the persecution, they should not be readmitted to the church. The church is very pure, and there is no room for forgiveness for such a grave sin of turning your back towards the church. So Pope Cornelius, Saint Cornelius was the Pope, and Cyprian was the bishop of another place called Carthage. Okay? So both these persons, they were very strong defenders. They were very contrary to this group of people who have this kind of idea. They say that we have to bring these people back into the church and accept them with compassion, mercy, and forgiveness. Now, what came after, I will leave it to you to go and just read up in your life and to see how they continue to bring about this message. But behind all these things and reflecting against today's reading, I want to bring up two important points. Now, the first reading today, you would, if you pay a bit of attention, you'll realize that Paul was talking to Timothy about the structures, the order of the church. He was talking about what the bishop should do, the priest should do, the deacons should be doing. And that is something that is important for us to realize also. Our church, we survive, or we organize based on the particular structures and order, and that is very important so that globally, no matter where you go, we all know what we believe in and how the church functions. But another very important point is to realize these order and structures, they are not the end by itself. It is meant to bring about the strong spirit of what Jesus was teaching, the spirit of compassion, of charity, of mercy, and justice. The orders are meant to bring about, to facilitate all of this, and it's supposed to be life-giving and restoring. And therefore, it is also important to realize with the gospel reading. Now, today's gospel reading is about Jesus bringing someone back to life, from death to life. But if you have been reflecting on the many miracles of Jesus, especially all this miracle where Jesus brought people back to life, it is never just meant to be for that. You realize that all these people who were brought back to life, ultimately, they will die again at one point of time. But every time when Jesus brings someone back to life, there is a more important message. In today's gospel, in this story in particular, the main message that Jesus was trying to share is that God is with us. God has visited his people, and finally he gave his life for us. But with that, it to tell us, firstly, 2 points perhaps for us to bring back. Firstly, we need to know the order in our faith. There are structures, there are things that is put in place for a particular reason. We need to know what are these orders, what are the rules, and what are they meant for. But beyond that, it is important for us to realize that the disorder, sometimes things that is a bit off from the structures, they are also meant to challenge us to understand the spirit of the room. Why are all this order there in the first place? What is it meant for? Now, oftentimes, if you know people who are exercising the rules, some of them they can be very rigid in saying that this is exactly what is to be done. But good lawyers, especially good canon lawyer, we used to have one here, and he always says that law are meant to be placed so that we can have a deeper experience of the love of God. And one of our redemptorist canon lawyer who has passed on, he always says that the law should always facilitate in a deeper experience of the love of God. And therefore you need to know the rule so that we can go around the spirit of the rule to always bring about that experience of the love of God. And therefore today, perhaps behind all these things, in reflecting on the two saints and also on our readings, it is for us to invite ourselves to reflect, do I know the rules of the church? Am I following it properly, understanding the spirit behind it? And ultimately, we have to ask ourselves, in following and exercising the rule, am I able to help other people to also proclaim that God has visited His people? So, behind all this, let us ask for the intercession of Saint Cyprian and Cornelius, that we can truly understand what the things that are governing our church, the rules and structures behind it. But more importantly, we try to bring about the spirit of this rule so that we can bring about greater love, the compassion, and the forgiveness of God in whatever place that we are living.